Hey y'all, this is TCA Gaming. Sorry for having a delay again. What has been almost 10 days again since our last video. It may be that way during the summer. Got a lot of things going on, a lot of stuff with the family. But today I wanted to talk about some stuff that we've already talked about before, but I've had so many inquiries and troublesome issues come up in regards to these uncut wrappers that we're going to go over it again. Now I will show you guys some cool cards at the very end, some more stuff that I pulled out of Gary's binders. I thought it was kind of cool the way I'm having to pull some of the cards out, so I will get to that. But in the meantime, this might be, hopefully it's not too long. I am going to briefly go over these uncut wrapper sheets. If you're wondering what I'm talking about because you haven't seen it before now, I bought some of these back in 2024. I was trying to get the uncut rolls authenticated. It didn't work out. And since then, we've had numerous more of these pop up. And so my issue originally with these, I want them to be real. I want them to be real so bad. It's missing, there's supposed to be a TM trademark, a little two black letters outside of this seal. Also the font, if you're thinking that it looks a little weird, a little choppy, it's because it is. It's very low quality. It's kind of blurry. Some of these get really bad. Like this was from the other sheet or other roll because he had two different rolls. You can see that this quality here, this is better than this, but both of the rolls were really bad. They were blurry, font was off, the printing was really light, no trademark. So all the telltale signs of counterfeit, not being real. Is it possible that there was some kind of registration roll? Maybe, but there was no provenance to suggest that. He didn't really know where it was. He thinks it comes from Australia. Why, I don't know. We'll go over that here in a little bit because it doesn't make sense that they would have been from Australia at all to me. And then on top of that, it has all of the classic signs of being counterfeit. And so for a while now, I've kind of just let it ride because I have a conflict of interest. I do sell these uncut wrappers. Like I've got my own, but I use this to compare. I mean, you can just see the quality difference between this and this. And so I have my own. There's the little TM mark, if you're wondering. It's supposed to be right there. TM stands for trademark, and it's outside the official license. But yeah, and so I've got other things to compare to. I've got these, I've got all these different variations of base set. You've got triangle, you've got the long, you've got the shadowless short crimp. Or was that first edition? Yeah, shadowless short crimp. There's a first edition stamp underneath the triangle, kind of showing you the origin of that. First edition, you've got long crimp shadowless, another regular base set. And so forth. So, and I've got uncut sheets, I've got uncut wrappers, different things that I can compare to by looking at. Now, I'm not an expert in like checking the surface and like looking at the little magenta dots and all that stuff because I think that's a really good way to be able to tell that kind of stuff. But I'm not an expert in that field. But I've let it be. The guy's, he's sold some other things on there. He's been pretty open about talking about this stuff. But more fakes have surfaced, not from this guy. I will go over his stuff again because this stuff is still on eBay, but I'm going to talk about some of the more recent fakes that I've ran into. So let me go to Google Chrome. So if you search, I search for base set wrapper Pokemon uncut, whatever. The very first one that pops up, $44.99. You got $64.99, $99.99, $200.99. So like all of these first four, they're the same type of fake wrapper. And I'm going to show you how we can tell if they're fake. So if we go to this $99.99 one, here's what we're looking at. Okay. First thing that I noticed before looking at anything else. So if we switch back from Chrome to mine, you're going to see these waves and rumples in like actual wrapper because that's what's going to happen. The material that this guy or whoever printed these has, it's a completely different type of material. And you don't see those rumples, in which you'd be able to tell once you got it in person. But let's go back. Let's look at it. Next thing that sticks out, look at these black bars. They're much thicker, as well as the distance. This silver distance between the two pack wrappers is much larger. And so here's again, you can kind of see the size of the black bars and the gap here. And then from there, you'll be able to go through and actually look at a lot of these things, such as the placement of like how wide the Venusaur is on the pack wrapper. Same thing with the Charizard and the Blastoise, where the tail goes, a lot of the font, and then even the color and saturation. But one that's easy to tell, because sometimes people are like, well, what if the pack wrapper's shifted, or say the Charizard itself is a different image compared to the background, maybe it could shift left or right. Well, one thing that shouldn't happen is the distance right here, like we'll say something like this, that should be somehow proportional if you're looking at it being shifted, but it's actually a different in different magnitude, a different size. But look at this little red dot here, and then kind of look at the far wing right there, and just make a note of it. And then you can see right here, it's kind of hard with it zoomed in, the wing still touches on the outside there, but then if you come over here, that dot, there's a gap there. Let's see if I can use one of these other ones just to zoom in a little bit better. Yeah, there we go. Look how that dot is. It is a complete different type of gap going on there between the edge where that dot is and the distance to the Expert logo. And so you're going to find several other anomalies when you're looking at this. You can actually see the surface difference right there, a little bit of texture. It's one of those things. Oh, here, I didn't pull up the Chrome. I thought I clicked it. Must not have. Let's zoom in here. So if you're looking at that dot right there, you can see the gap difference right there. You can see the surface material completely different. But these were actually confirmed to be fake. Somebody found where they were being printed like through Etsy or something. And so those, I don't know why they're being able to be sold on eBay. I've officially reported them. I tried to hold back on that again because it's like a conflict of interest. I sell these, so like when I report my competition, it's a conflict of interest. But it's true information. They are counterfeit. Now, let's move on to the other ones. So this is something from like the other guy. In fact, let's just go to his store. Might be able to find him. Got to go through all of these verifications. Let's see. Select all the items that help clean things. I don't even know what that is. So these two to me are obvious fakes. We'll go through why that is here in a minute, and then we'll touch on these other three because these are actually a little bit different than what I had in the past. So the first one here, we've got an uncut sheet. All right, look at what we have here. We have a test. If this is real, we would be looking at a test disco uncut sheet with a row of Charizards. Why would there be a row of Charizards? Like, there should not be a row of Charizards on any shadowless sheet. This doesn't match any known disco sheets. It's missing the color bars. This test foil, I believe, is the exact same disco test foil that CGC put an article out about where the individual cards were deemed counterfeit. Also, if this was real, if anybody who collects this kind of stuff, which would be me included, I thought it was real, it's potentially worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And look, no bids at $400. So like, this doesn't scare me as much because people can see that it's fake and they're not paying a lot of money for it. Same thing with something like this. Like even just a little section here would bring a lot of money. Because let me look up Neo Genesis Uncut. I believe you can still find little sections of that, or maybe the fossil. I don't know. I've seen chopped up uncut sheets for both Fossil and Neo Genesis, and they still bring hundreds of dollars, even if they're just known to be cut off of a real sheet, just like hand cut off of there. And so no, people aren't bidding on these things. He had some legendary collection uncut sheets as well with the box toppers, which would have been an amazing find if they were real. But moving on, let's look at these right here. So we have, here is a base first edition uncut sheet. Now notice, this is the same seller. Now they have the TM mark all of a sudden. The two sheets, the two rolls they had before, neither one of them had them. So did he get another roll out of nowhere? Like, that's just crazy to think about. But you can still tell there it is still off on the font. It's still blurry. But let's scroll down to the description. This is where it kind of angers me. All right, so he gives all this information here, and then he says, which leads me to believe that they may have printed or shipped that to the company prior to the release of the fourth print of the base set in Australia. It's just making up stuff. There is no provenance, but when you say something like that, go in here and read. It says made in USA. The Australian stuff says made in Australia. And then if you go over here and you read right here, you see that first edition. First edition beside trading card game and 11 tradable game cards. The only set to ever have a shadowless first edition set was the English base set. We never saw this type of artwork on any other first edition printing. No other language. And in fact, there was never anything publicly printed for first edition Australian English. As far as I know, I have the only public evidence of there being a first edition Australian set because I have 2 of the uncut sheets in which you can find them on my Instagram. You might have to scroll a bit because I don't make a big to-do about them. But the thing is, the cards are shadowed. They're not shadowless. Like, this is a shadowless pack wrapper artwork. Even cards that don't have the first edition stamp and they were short crimped, or not packs, not cards, but the packs that are lacking the first edition stamp with the short crimp, those are likely to be shadowless on the inside. So that would indicate that this pack wrapper would have shadowless cards inside, which means they would have first edition shadowless, which means you'd have first edition shadowless in Australia, and there's no evidence of that. Like, I don't like it. I don't like the fact that this is already being sold when you have no evidence that it is real, just evidence for red flags that it's counterfeit. But then you go and make up your own speculative story in which the evidence goes completely against it. So that angers me. All right. Last, let's look at his first edition, or not his first edition, but his jungle red logo uncut sheets for the wrappers. You know, as soon as we zoom in, we can see that the artwork or the font and the print it's not of good quality. But here, this right here, look at this. So notice these 2 lines right here. See the word Pokemon where I'm zoomed in? It's kind of in bold. It runs past the barcode. Let me see. I had it pulled up. Looking at this is a red logo pack. It's been graded, probably pulled directly from a box. Look at the back side. If you look at it right here, it does not run past the barcode. It's all in line. So to me, again, another red flag saying, hey, this is counterfeit. Somebody else printed it. It's not good quality. That's usually the biggest red flag. Quality is bad, blurriness. That's what a lot of people look for when they're trying to find fake Yu-Gi-Oh boxes, fake sports. The quality's just not up to par. It's not up to snuff. And then you've got these misalignments, grammatical errors, issues with how the sheet is printed. To me, again, these are fake. That's my opinion. I want them to be real. I still believe that there's a chance that something like this could be real if it's some like random weird trashed registration roll test print type thing for colors, but there's no provenance to back that up. And that's the problem with this stuff. Like, there is nothing backing it up, but people are selling it as if it's real. I had somebody approach me today with some of these. He's like, hey man, I'm pretty sure this is fake. The guy that sold them to him was like, oh no, the guy that I bought them from, KD Collectibles or something like that, they authenticated, they graded it. I'm like, no, nobody grades these. And he's like, well, I didn't mean graded. I meant they authenticated it. And he showed me a screenshot of ChatGPT. Why are people thinking that ChatGPT is going to know whether or not an uncut wrapper is fake? Like, that is crazy. Then he listed out reasons. One of the reasons said it was talking about the pack wrappers, how it could be Charizard, Blastoise, Venusaur, or Pikachu. And to me, that is a huge red flag because anybody who has any idea what a base set pack looks like from Pokemon, they know that Pikachu has never been on the artwork. Like, that's basic knowledge. That's not even like deep level stuff. And while I'm going to tell you, I'm not an expert in analyzing print quality or anything like that, I can see the red flags. And to me, there are enough red flags with something like this that there's no way that I could sell it. I've made that mistake before. Let me show you guys something. I have made the mistake of selling these before, the Magic and Wizard cards. While I do not know whether or not these are real, I was selling some of these on consignment for somebody because I believed that they were real based off of the fact that CGC graded them. The guy who did all this stuff to get them graded, he was the one showing me the information. He was excited about it. CGC said, yeah, we back it up fully. I even bought a card from him for myself. Geezy put out a ton of information, and his information was saying that they were counterfeit. And to me, that made a whole lot more sense based off, like, the argument there was much better than the argument I got from the CGC article. So while I have no idea whether or not these things are real, they have not been claimed as fake by CGC, but to me, Yeezy was very convincing. And so this thing had sold through eBay, went through eBay authentication. The guy bought it. It was a no returns final sale. Over a month later, he reached out to me. He was like, "Hey, I didn't realize there was a lot of controversies around this card. Could I send it back to you?" And I said, yes. I took it back because I think that was reasonable. If I had known all of that information prior, then I wouldn't have taken these in on consignment. So I didn't do my due diligence. And now I'm just kind of stuck with the cards because I don't feel confident enough to sell them, even though there is a CGC backs them. Like I can't say for certainty now that I'm aware that they could be fake. That I can say for certainty looking at the information that these are real. I think you have to be sure if you're going to sell something, you don't pass the buck on to somebody else because you are unaware of how to authenticate something. Like either you take responsibility for it or you just don't sell it at all. And that's what angers me the most about this, because there's so many people getting scammed. Like I said, those ones that I showed you in the beginning, those are fake. They're confirmed. They're being printed by somebody. I've already reported those on eBay. If you guys want to report them too, you can. The others, I am like nearly 100% sure they're fake or counterfeit at this point with all the stuff that's come out and the timeline that have come out and how additional uncut rolls have surfaced that have slightly different tweaks to them. It doesn't make much sense to me, but I do leave that small chance in there that somebody had this huge stash. But if that's the case and people have been sitting on these things, like why is there no provenance? Why is there not somebody coming out with a statement saying, hey, yeah, I kept these from 25 years ago. I can say for sure, like that uncut wrapper roll that went through Golden. It was an unlimited base set, but it had a first edition stamp on it. It's like, so you're telling me somebody took a whole roll of the first edition triangle error uncut wrappers before they put the triangle error on it, which would have been only at a specific time from one facility, and there was no provenance behind it? Like that makes no sense. Like how could you sell that without knowing for sure? But anyways, you might be asking, well, why am I selling these? These do have, when I bought these back in 2011, they were basically for nothing. And I do have provenance from the guy that I bought them from that come from a WotC employee. I don't have the WotC's name, but I am so confident with these because it matches up. There's no like red flags that is in the print quality or anything like that. But anyways, I digress. The only way that I would ever sell something like this, if you want me to be completely honest, if somebody like Pokemon Flying Master from E4, if he had these and he looked at them and he said, yeah, I looked at those little tiny dots that people are always talking about, and I can tell you for sure this was printed by WotC during the right time era. I put my blessing on it, and I believe that they are legitimate. If somebody like that, somebody that I would see as a true expert in analyzing and authenticating something like this, then yeah, I would sell it. But as it is now, there's no way. All the red flags tell me that it's not authentic. And so it would take something like that from him or an employee coming out saying, hey, I was the one on the line. I've got pictures. I can show you exactly how these come off. And I can tell you for a fact, these are registration rolls and they're real. Like that's what it would take, like direct provenance with somebody putting their name behind it, or somebody who I believe is a true forensic, like expert in this type of print data, forensic details or whatever. Somebody like Pokemon Flying Master who would also not really have any incentive to gain from, saying that they are real. I would believe somebody like him. But anyways, I've ranted long enough. I told you guys I was going to show you some cool stuff. So I've got plenty more cards that I've been submitting for grading that I've been pulling out of Gary's stuff. Like here's some of the Skyridge cards. I just love seeing old Skyridge cards because you don't run across them very often. Got Persian, Piloswine. I go all the way back to, got some Eevees in there. I don't know how well they're going to do. They look minty, but you just never know with grading now. But also, I started digging into the TOPPS binder today. And so just to give you an idea, I'm pulling out the TOPPS Chrome right now. And you can see it's missing like the big three, but it's got a lot of the other cards. It's got duplicates. He would run the cards front and back. I'm going to show you guys one of the pages that he had in the back. These are all your standard TOPPS Chrome. I looked up prices. I couldn't believe how so many of these have increased in price. It was surprising because I used to sell a lot of these PSA 10 for like $30 a piece. And now it's hard to even find any graded card from Pokemon Chrome, TOPPS Chrome, in any grade for, that kind of price. But like, here's one of the pages he had in the back. I thought this was really cool. So he has like some Sparkle Chromes in here, Techno Chromes. And if you don't know, Sparkle Chrome So a TOPPS Chrome box has 30 packs. Each pack has 5 cards. There's 150 cards in a box. Well, there are Sparkle Chromes, 1 in every 10 packs. So you get 3 of those per box. And then your Techno Chromes are 1 in every 15 packs. So those are 2 per box. But I went to pull a lot of these cards out, and you just can't pull them out. They are stuck. And so it's been taking a while for me to pull these out. And the way that I'm having to do it, I literally have to come in here, and I've got to be careful. So like for this, I'm going to probably pull it from the back side. I'm literally tearing a corner. If I can get in there. And I'm just like ripping the page off. And I can't just rip it real hard because you can see how it tugs on the card some. And these have sharp corners. So it's not like your Pokemon rounded corners. Like if you get a dent on one of those little corners, it goes from a highest possible, you know, out of 10, but it's going to be like 7. And so you got to like rip these things down. And then, of course, I'm getting my fingerprints on here almost thick enough to where it causes an issue. Now, if I can get in there enough, I might be able to pull this one out now. And it's still stuck in there like solid. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to rip this one and then just kind of pull it off to the side like that. Now, maybe. And so we have a Sparkle Golbat. All that work for just 1 card. The Sparkle Chrome to me is so much nicer than the Techno. Techno seems to be closer to the Spectra, which Spectra is another variation. But you can see it actually says Sparkle Chrome on here. And Spectra, I believe, is like 1 in every 2 packs or something like that. So you get 15 of those per box. But beautiful cards. And the Sparkle and Techno Chromes, they're pretty tough to come about. Jigglypuff. Like, I don't know what a Sparkle Chrome Jigglypuff goes for. Fortunately, it does look like this one has a little bit of a mark across the top there. Probably because if you look at these, they actually stick out slightly from the top. It does have some guard here, but the front side, they're not all the way down in there. But I'm not going to try to rip all these out on camera now because that was already hard enough with my hands extended out in front of my body. I like to kind of get in there and just this is one of the few things I'm gonna try pulling out with finesse because some of these cards are very expensive. But I thought it was really cool just to see these in the back of Gary's TOPPS binder. He does have a lot of the rainbow foils, regular foils. He goes through Series 2. He doesn't have any Series 3. But yeah, they're just sitting there, and you can tell that they've been sitting in here for so long, probably for years and years. Now here's one. This one's in a case. So that was nice. Got a Techno Chrome Golduck. Just one little ding to that corner and it drops 3 grades. At minimum, maybe more. So you got to be careful even putting them back in the sleeves. But that's what the Techno Chrome looks like. You kind of look for the tic-tac-toe board. Spectra Chrome is more like this one. It's just like an extra line type foil in the background versus like this is your regular Chrome. You don't see that line. You see it there with this one. Of course, it'll say it on the back, Spectra Chrome. All right, well, those were the cool cards I want to show you guys. I know the majority of the video was me ranting about that stuff, that, you know, the uncut sheets. Hopefully, I don't have to do it again. It's been a while, but it's gotten, I just can't believe how many messages I've been getting about these things and people wanting to say, just ask me, hey, are these real? Are they real? And, you know, I have to give them the whole spiel because I believe they're counterfeit, but it's like, I don't want to be like 100% on board of saying these were never printed at WotC, but I am almost like completely sure that they were not. There's no reason that anybody should be selling them unless they've got information that hasn't been put out there. And like the fake information, I really don't like that. I don't like it, you know, somebody speculating something that goes against all the information that is present on the actual item that you're selling. But guys, thanks for watching the video. Thanks for listening to me rant, and I'll try to get another video within the week. But if I don't, I hope you guys are having a great summer.